Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. Chris Eubank Jr. defeated Liam Smith via a 10th round stoppage on Saturday night. Right, before I get into it, because there's a lot I'm going to discuss, I'm just hearing the sensational news that Chris Eubank Jr.'s trainer, Brian Bomac McIntyre, who's also Terence Crawford's trainer, has been arrested at Manchester Airport, or has been detained, apparently, allegedly, due to a loaded gun being found in his suitcase. The Mail Online are reporting this, that apparently he checked in his suitcases at Manchester Airport on Sunday and they found a loaded gun. Greater Manchester Police have put out a statement. Sensational. I mean, what on earth's gone on there? Like, that's ridiculous. You can't go to different countries and bring a gun in your suitcase. Like, that's just insanity. Now, I don't know the whole story. This is allegedly, or this is what the Daily Mail are reporting, but it sounds like he didn't try to hide it or anything. I think what you have to understand is gun laws are completely different in America. It's just a different world. Here, you're not allowed an armed gun. It's as simple as that. You can get 10 years in prison for it. My word, it's absolutely sensational. I mean, there's more to come with that. It's literally just broke the news, so I'll keep everyone updated. Right, now, Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith. Now, I've debated and gone at people non-stop since that fight had finished on Saturday, non-stop. Now, yes, I got the prediction wrong, right? I hate it. I'm fuming with myself. I shouldn't get any prediction wrong. It's not acceptable, right? It is what it is, but you have to understand when you're predicting boxing fights, sometimes you don't know the preparation. You don't know what's gone on to the preparation. I'm not privy. I'm privy to stuff afterwards, but not before. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But in regards to this, I obviously wasn't privy to how bad Liam Smith's camp was. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given the prediction the way I did. Do you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate because, you're giving predictions, but you don't know what's gone on. Do you know what I mean? So, yes, I got it wrong. I'll take it on the chin. It doesn't happen a lot. It is what it is. So I'll take that on the chin. Right. The difference between me and a lot of these other media outlets is I engage with all my followers. I make a point of it. I will literally sit there for hours and hours and hours and engage with my followers. It's important to me. This platform, as it says, hashtag for the fans, right? So I respect everyone's opinions. However, if you start getting disrespectful and you start insulting me, then it's a different conversation. I just won't accept that, And there's a few of my followers who have known me for a while, who have been a bit disrespectful, to be fair. Because what you should know by now is I don't do biased, right? If I was biased to Liam Smith, I would have picked him to win the first fight. I picked Chris Eubank Jr. I would have said, the elbow and everything. If I was that bothered about predictions and being biased, I picked Eubank to win the first fight, right? So if I was that bothered about my predictions being wrong, then I would say, it's an elbow and all that, because that's what people are accusing me of. You're only saying this because you predicted the fight. Well, it's not true, right? And I take that personally, because if you know me, you'll know I will say it how it is, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a mate of yours. It doesn't matter if I'm a fan. If you do something I don't agree with, I will say it, right? But I won't put out wrong information because I predicted the fighter to win. I won't. I'll state facts. Now, let's go into the fight. We'll talk about the stuff afterwards, the pre-fight camp and all that. But let's just go into the fight, right? So there's this ridiculous narrative going around that Chris Eubank Jr. came out from round one and was peppering Liam Smith from the get-go. Not true. Just completely not true. Go and watch the first round. It was very cagey, right? Liam Smith caught him with a few body shots, uppercuts to the body. You could see he was trying to counter, but he was just missing. It was going to the side of the head or over the head. But you can see he was waiting for Eubank to fall in and counter. Now, Eubank, to be fair to him, came out like the old Eubank. He didn't try and copy Roy Jones Jr., right? As I said straight away, as soon as Roy Jones Jr. was his trainer, I said it's a disaster waiting to happen. Now, it's no disrespect to Roy Jones Jr., he's a legend of the game, but I'm not convinced of him as a boxing trainer. And the fact that the first fight is not with Roy Jones Jr., straight away he's got his guard like that, he's not like that, trying to copy him. Question marks have to be asked. Now, Roy can say that Eubank didn't listen to him in the last fight. He is known for that. Eubank, he's gone through trainer after trainer. But at the end of the day, it's a bit damning when the first fight you're not with him, he's literally got his gloves up. So what are you teaching him? You can't teach a fighter to be you, right? Great fighters doesn't always make great trainers, you know. You have to mold them you have to adapt to their capabilities, not mold them into what you were. And we could all see it. He was just trying to copy Roy Jones Jr. He's just not that fighter, right? So I think question marks need to be asked about Roy Jones Jr. as a trainer, in my opinion. But yeah, going back to this narrative that Eubank came out straight away, he didn't. It was a close first round, right? Smith, they went back to the corner. It was an even round. You know, I couldn't give it to anyone. Then the second round comes, and I'm watching it with a few of my mates, and I saw Liam Smith do a strange jaw movement with his leg. It didn't look natural, right? I only thought it was one ankle that he rolled over because it didn't look natural. And I said to my mate, that didn't look natural. That it's like his leg got jarred in the ground, or he's twisted it. It just doesn't look right. And for the remainder of the round, he didn't really throw much. Right, so then as the rounds were going on, the commentators weren't picking up on it. You know, I like George Groves, I like Matt Macklin, I like Andy Clark, but I thought it was extremely poor that they literally didn't mention it till the sixth round. Someone must have told Andy Clark, and he sort of mentioned it. When Smith was going back to the corner, he was saying, I've rolled my ankle. Like, you could see he didn't throw anything. He wasn't throwing punches. Now, what you have to understand is, you generate your power from your legs. If you can't push off your ankles, you can't get any power, right? It's not people are saying, well, you can throw with your arms. You can't. You don't get any power, and you can't get out of the way. You can't spring off them. You can't slip. You can't move. You can't get in and out of range. If you've done both of your ankles in, you're basically a sitting duck, sitting target, a human punch bag, right? And that is what happened. After that, it was just an uncompetitive fight. I'm seeing Chris Eubank Jr. now as the best thing since sliced bread. He's Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather rolled into one. It was a career best performance. Do me a favour. Do me a favour, career best performance. Anyone can look good when you're fighting a bloke who's not throwing anything back. Now, that's not Eubank's fault. I'm not taking any credit. People keep saying, give the man his flowers. I'm being honest, fair play. He did what he had to do. He took the rematch, right? He came through adversity. Fair play. I'm not taking that away from him, and it's not his fault Liam got injured. But to just dismiss the injury and say, oh, it would have happened anyway. What are you talking about? Absolute nonsense. You predict the future? How do you know? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you would have stopped Smith. Maybe not. You know, who knows? But that was a 20% Liam Smith. Just forget about the first fight. We'll go on about that afterwards. But that was a 20% Liam Smith. It's as simple as that. And it took him 10 rounds to get rid of him. You know, Smith got rid of him early on when they fought in the first fight, when Eubank had issues coming in. But it was just an uncompetitive fight. You're going to look good. You're going to look like great, whipping the uppercuts, which I said was his honey punch. He's great with that on the inside, and he executed that perfectly. But Liam Smith was there to be uppercut, he could have done whatever he wanted to do with him. He wasn't throwing punches back. He was clearly compromised. Right? So don't tell me it didn't have an impact. It had an impact. If it happened to you, Bank, I would say the same thing. It wasn't a competitive fight. Just like David Haye and Bellew, right? David Haye had one leg. Do you want me to say that was a career best performance from Tony Bellew? I love him, but come on. Like, what is going on here? It's just very, very simple. It's unfortunate. Injuries happen, right? But Liam Smith was compromised, and this absolute nonsense. I keep hearing that. Oh, he rolls over his ankles in all of his fights. Okay, show me. You show me footage of Liam Smith rolling over both ankles in a fight. It doesn't exist, otherwise it'll be all over social media. It's utter nonsense. Why would he deliberately want to injure himself? It doesn't make sense. Now, he does do a twitch with his ankle later on in sparring or fights where he sort of leans over his leg and it's like a twitch with his ankle, right? But that's different to rolling over it. I keep hearing Natasha Jonas said this and someone said that. Fine, listen, I've spoke to Liam Smith's coach, right? I don't put out crap for no reason, right? And the fact is, Liam Smith rolled over his ankles. He didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't that. People are putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5, right? Whoever says he rolls over his ankles deliberately, he's talking utter nonsense. He didn't mean it like that. He does have a habit of doing something with his ankles, like a twitch. It's not rolling over both of them. And the fact that he never threw any punches after it, clearly he was compromised. Now, After the fight, Smith came out and said he put on weight and he had a bad camp. Now, I've not made that as an excuse. I've not gone on about that because Eubank had many problems going into the first fight. So I've not used that as an excuse. That's Liam Smith's fault. He had to prepare properly. However, what a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of politics going on in the back that people aren't privy to, right? The major thing was the rematch clause was signed. There was a deadline for it. So what happens is when you negotiate a fight that has a rematch clause, usually the rematch clause is favourable to you, the winner, right? So if Liam Smith would have been the B side in the first fight, would have had to say yes to everything. Eubank's the A side, there's no doubt about that. But in the rematch, Liam Smith would have got more money, and it was Smith Eubank. It wasn't Eubank Smith, so he was sort of the A side, not fully, because at the end of the day, Eubank's, he's the one who's got the eyes on him. Liam Smith's a star, but he's not a bigger star than Eubank. That's just the facts, right? So he had to go through with the fight. So it was postponed, I think, in June, July, whatever happened, and he had a really bad back injury. Liam Smith has had personal problems as well, but he had a really bad back injury. Now, it's very clear that he shouldn't have took the fight, right? But he didn't have a choice, because if he didn't take that fight then the rematch clause would have expired. That means Eubank can walk away, which he would have. I don't think he would have took that fight again. Or if he was going to accept the rematch, they had to renegotiate another deal. And guess what? We all know what trouble Eubank is at the negotiation table. It would have been Eubank Smith for everything else, less money. So we had to take it. He's got a family to provide for. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but that's the reason why he took the fight. People are saying, well, why didn't he shouldn't come in injured and all this, The problem is that he didn't have a choice. He had to take the fight. They wanted to postpone it. They couldn't postpone it. Do you not think Joe McIntyre, who's a boxing man, his trainer, Liam Smith's trainer, wanted to postpone that fight? Do you think he's looking at him in training with the injuries and the weight and thinking, you're ready to go? He didn't have a choice. It's not a reflection on Joe. He just didn't have a choice. That's just a horrible, murky politics of boxing. It's disgusting. Making a fighter fight who's literally injured. However, the weight is his issue. I don't know why Liam Smith put on so much weight. You can't be doing that. You're a professional athlete, right? You can't be doing that. And I love Liam Smith, and I've got a lot of respect for his team. But even his team will tell you can't be doing that. It's not fair to his trainer. It's not fair to his team. He can't be doing it. So it's his own fault. And maybe the fight would have gone exactly how it did anyway, without rolling the ankle, because he had a horrendous camp, didn't he? He had to lose the weight. So I'm not saying that's not a possibility, and I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm saying that's on him. But the fact of the matter is, he rolled over both ankles. You can see it clearly. And after that, he stopped throwing punches. I think he threw like 10 minutes around. And I know for a fact the ankle's injured. I know that for a fact, right? I don't say things for no reason. He's injured his ankle. It happens. That's all people have to say was it's unfortunate, and that's it. But to Lord Chris Eubank Jr. is the next coming of Muhammad Ali, because he beat a guy who wasn't throwing punches back. Come on. We need to see him get tested. We need to see him get punched in the chin. Now, yes, he looked better under Bromack, right? But what you're going to learn in a few weeks, come on, You're not going to learn that much in a few weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how that relationship continues. And Eubank did have a game plan. He was holding on the inside because he didn't want to get hit. He knew. He knows his body. He knows if his punch resistance has slightly gone. So you could see he was tying Liam up. So he was boxing on the outside, and then when he was in, he was doing his work, then he would tie him up, and he wouldn't let Liam get off with the counters. Right, so I give him respect for that, but it's a lot easier when someone's not throwing back at you, right? That's the reality of the situation, whether you agree or not or whatever. That's the fact. He was injured in the fight. He was injured in the fight, and it's as simple as that. So I can't go too much off that performance. Nonsense, Eubank says he's the best of his career. Come on. You're going to look good against someone who's not punching back. So that is my assessment on it. I'm not taking anything away from Eubank. I'm not saying it because I picked Smith. Why would I do that? And I find it insulting when people say that, because if you know me, you should know I will say it how it is, right? And it'd be easy for me to say, yes, Eubank, well done, well done, well done, well done. You're the best thing ever. Unbelievable performance. I've never seen anyone with such shot selection. Oh, great, he's going to be an undisputed world champion. Put him in the Hall of Fame. right? It'll be easy for me to say that, but I will always stick to what I believe in, right? I might disagree with you, I might go back and forth with you. Doesn't mean I don't respect your opinion, but I'll always state things with facts. And the fact is, he was injured. That's it. So what happens next? People are saying, would it be a trilogy? There won't be a trilogy. Why? Because Eubank will go where the money is. It's as simple as that. A trilogy isn't where the biggest money is. Now, he's running out of options, Eubank. What big fights? He wants the biggest fights possible. He called out Triple G. Triple G don't have any belts. He's retired, isn't he? So I don't know what that was about. At the end of the day, you want to fight him at 42. You didn't want to fight him in 2000 and was it 16 or when Cal Brook fought him? You didn't want to fight him then, mate. You can say what you want. You didn't want to fight him. Simple as that. We want to fight him now when he's 42. But anyway, the fight to make is Conor Benn. That is the fight. It's sexy. It's juicy. It's got the subplots. It's got the storyline. It's got everything you want. Characters. I don't care what you think of Conor Benn or Eubank. It doesn't make a difference. It's massive, the fight. It's the biggest fight in British boxing history. The only fight that is potentially bigger or gets near it is Fury and Joshua, but that's not going to happen in the UK. It will do better numbers than Froch and Groves and White and Fury. It's the biggest fight in British boxing history. It's absolutely mega. Especially with all that's gone on, it's even bigger. And I know for a fact Conor wants that fight. Believe me, as I say, I don't say shit for no reason. They're aiming for December to try and get it in Wembley or the Principality. I know that for a fact, right? But I think it could be in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi. I wish it wasn't, I want it in the UK. Let us have a big, juicy fight because we've not had it for a while. A big British domestic dust-up with the fathers' names are there, the legacies there. Let's have it in the UK. It will be sensational. But at the same time, Eddie Hearn, did a deal with Abu Dhabi. What's he put on? Bivol and Ramirez, good fight, but it's not mega names, and Eddie Hearn at the moment doesn't really have the fighters where he's going to put a Tank and Garcia fight on or a Errol Spence and Bud Crawford. Do you know what I mean? Eddie's sort of going global now. It's more volume than massive stars. Do you know what I mean? He's going to have to build stars up now. So he's got a few years of sort of rebuilding again. And it's not because Eddie's not a good promoter. He's one of the best in the world. It's because he's on DAZN and it's not prime time. It's not primetime network. We know the trouble with it, right? But it's. I think it will be the future. But at the moment, they're still having a bit of teething problems. So the biggest fight that DAZN can put on, in my opinion, is Eubank and Benn. It's the biggest fight, and you can't blame them if Abu Dhabi or the Middle East say, "Here's 100 million site fee, fill your boots." How can you start? You can't. They're not going to say no, are they? But I hope it's in the UK. It's absolutely massive. It's just, I want to hear Conor Benn's entrance. He's when the bells goes, and he's just, he's box office Conor Benn. I like him. I've said some things about him in the past, and I'll tell him that, and he'll know that. I'll say, anything I say on here, I'll say to your face. Right? I have questioned his opponents in the past, but I've always said I'm a fan, and I've always said he had to be manufactured in a way because he had no amateur experience, but he's turned out to be a good fighter. And people can say drugs and all that. Drugs don't make you better. Right? I don't believe he, as I said, that's in my opinion, I don't believe he knew when he took that substance. I have spoke to him about it. That's just my opinion. At first, I think he did do it. I did say he has to prove his innocence, but when he went on the Piers Morgan show, even before I've been speaking to Conor, I said, the way he's coming across, he reminds me of me a little bit, that he wears his heart on his sleeve. He will say it how it is. And he will react at people. If you're going to keep insulting and abusing him, you're going to poke the bear long enough, the bear's going to react. Do you understand what I mean? And, I speak to him on social media, and I think he gets a bad rep. I do. I think a lot of people look at him and they think, well, he was born with his dad's name and he's got money and, he's got fame. But that's not his fault. Listen, the bloke works his arse off. He doesn't have to be a boxer. He doesn't, and he dedicates himself. There's one thing you can't say about Conor Benn, is that he's not dedicated. He dedicates himself. He's always in the gym. Now, yes, he has to sort out the failed drug tests, and well, he's clear to fight in the moment, but the British Boxing Board of Control might be appealing it, so it might not be able to happen in the UK. We all know the Board of Control like a pound note, so they'll want it in the UK, but we'll see what happens with it, but it's the fight to make. Right, another prediction I got horrifically wrong. Again, I'm fuming, it's not acceptable, is Florian Marko and Dylan Moran. Right, let me just say first of all, why was it on at 6 o'clock? It's baffling. Why would you do a gloves are off and put that fight on at 6 o'clock? I missed it. I couldn't believe it. I thought the show started at 6 and there was a few fights and then he would be on. I said it would be around about 8 o'clock. I didn't realise it would be on straight away. So, I'm at a friend's house. I've literally turned the TV on and it says Marko's beat Moran in round 1. And I've gone, what's this? My mate's giving it, it's a replay of another fight. I'm like, no, fucking fight's just happened. We've missed it. I couldn't believe it. It's just absolutely insanity. Why? Do you know how much social traction that did on social media? It did a lot of traction. Why pull it on at 6 o'clock? Oh my word. Baffling. And I missed it. Right? Obviously, I've looked back at the fights. And so what can you say? Massive respect to Florian Marko. I did say he has improved. And I said if Dylan didn't prepare properly or he tried to engage in a firefight, he could get knocked out. Right? But it's hard to give an opinion on the fight because literally Dylan came out, right? He got off with a few jabs from the southpaw stance, and literally the first shot that Marko threw and landed, he just didn't recover from it. So it happens in boxing, do you know what I mean? It's not like it was 3-4 rounds and Marko's done a demolition job. He caught him cold. It happens. Dylan really should have tried to go on the back foot, not go in the centre ring. But maybe that was the plan. Maybe he's a taller man. Maybe back the pressure fighter up. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that was his plan. But looking back, I think maybe he should have kept it on the outside for first 3 rounds. And that's experience. Dylan's not been on that stage before. He's cool, calm and composed. He looks good. He talks well. But at the end of the day, he's not been on that stage before. And I think that played a big factor in the fight, that the experience. Because if it happens again, he'll get another chance, Dylan, right? Believe me, he'll either make him or break him. I think he's this kind of guy who it will make him. I know him. I think he's a good guy. I think it will make him. I think he'll get another opportunity. And guess what? He'll fucking learn. He'll learn not to go straight up to a fucking explosive puncher and, try and command centre ring just for a few rounds. Go on the outside, feel it out, feel what he's got, Marko. You're cold at first, and that's experience for me. But you've got to give massive respect to Florian Marko. He said that he was going to render Dylan unconscious and knock him out, and he did stop him. You've got to give the man his dues. However, the fight I want to see is Stevie McKenna. That's what I want to see now. I can understand Marko not entertaining McKenna because at the end of the day, Stevie's not fought anyone and he's fighting on YouTube. I've always said when he's on Sky Sports, he should be high up the card. He's exciting. Every time Stevie McKenna fights, I watch. It's exciting. Yes, he has to learn to defend. He defends with his face, But he's going to go up to Florian Marko and put it on him. And Marko's going to go up to Stevie and put it on him. It'll be 2 trains. It's such a fun fight. It really is. It can be a great build-up. It's a great fight to have on Sky. It'll get people talking. It'll get boxing people talking. Okay, it's not a pay-per-view fight or anything like that. But the right promotion, Stevie is exciting. I don't know many fighters who just has the intensity that he brings. I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion. I'm not saying he's going to reach that kind of level. Right? We need to see. He needs to start defending, right? Because as you go up the level, you can't be taking shots. You'll get put to kip. And if Marko hits him on the chin, he'll go to sleep. Let me tell you, down. Right? But let me tell you something else. Stevie could knock Marko out. The intensity, right? If he puts it on him and on him and on him, and he will literally go up to his chest and stay on his chest for every second of every minute he's conscious in that fight. It's a sensational, just an exciting fight. The build-up will be great. Let's see it. Come on. Let's see it. But, going back to the event as a whole, and it was a good night of boxing, but you do feel a little bit disappointed because, when a fighter comes in just not in shape and not ready, I'm not going to say he's conning the public because it's happened a lot. It happens, right? I remember Mike Alvarado. He used to be a welterweight. I can't remember who he fought. It's gone from my mind, but he had a classic fight rematch. He had a trilogy with a fighter. I can't remember who it was. I remember the last one. I think the first one was like fight of the year contender. The second one was great. and this was the third one, I think, or it might have been the second one, but he was injured. It just wasn't a fight, right? And David Hay, came in injured, and I'm not going to say calm because Liam has got a family to support. He had to take the fight. I think it's disgraceful that boxing still has this problem where we're having fights where fighters are coming in at like 40%, 50%. They're not 50-50 fights. I've had enough of it. Could you imagine watching football every week where every one of the players are injured and they've got to bring the youth team in, all these issues? Now, I understand football is different. It's 11 people on the pitch. You can bring subs on. But boxing has to do better. I'm sick of fights being made and people putting rehydration clauses and trying to get every possible advantage where it's not a 50-50 fight by the time the bell goes. It's not. Like, look at Crawford, look at Bud and Spence, Now, it's not Crawford's fault. I picked Bud to win. I always say he's number one, right? But, Spence just a shell of himself. Ryan Garcia in the tank fight, had to have a rehydration clause. Got stopped with a body shot. There's no coincidence. Liam Smith had to take this fight, otherwise the rematch clause would have been abolished. He wouldn't have had the same terms, etc. Well, maybe in these contracts they should say if a fighter is injured and he can provide medical evidence, not fake ones, medical evidence, extend it. It's a nonsense. Liam Smith could potentially be sued if he didn't go through with that fight. Eubank can say he's pulled out a few times. Do you know what I mean? So we had to take the fight, and it's unfair to the fighter, it's unfair to the trainer, and more importantly, it's unfair to the fans, because I'm sick of seeing fights that just aren't 50-50. The promotion's great and all that, but by the time fight night comes along, the first bell rings, it's someone at 80% against someone who's at 10%, and it's just ridiculous now. I'm sick of it. Right, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with my assessment on Chris Eubank? Do you think Liam Smith was injured? Did it affect the fight? Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.